We've explored every corner of the land, mapped mountains, deserts, and cities, but beneath the ocean, a different world exists, a world we barely understand, vast regions where sunlight never reaches. A tyranny seat there is a place in the ocean so deep that even sound struggles to travel, a place where pressure is so intense that steel bends like paper. A place humans were never meant to visit. This is the Tonga Trench located in the South Pacific Ocean. Number 2, the Gulf of Mexico. Brine Pios there is a place in the ocean that looks like water but kills like poison, a place where the sea has lakes inside it. Lakes that are not water, lakes that do not mix, lakes that should not exist. These are the brine pools of the Gulf of Mexico. Deep beneath the surface, at depths of nearly 3,000 feet, scientists discovered pools of super salty water resting on the ocean floor. They look calm, still almost inviting, but they are deadly. These pools are created when salt deposits dissolve into surrounding seawater, making it so dense that it sinks and collects in depressions. The result is an underwater lake with a visible shoreline, waves, and currents. But this is not normal water. The salinity is several times higher than the surrounding ocean, loaded with methane, hydrogen sulfide, and toxic chemicals. Anything that swims into these pools without adaptation dies within seconds. Drift and lose control and sink. Their bodies remain preserved on the bottom like warning. Scientists call them underwater lakes of death. But here's where it gets disturbing. Life exists here too long. The edges of these brine pools, entire ecosystems thrive. Bacteria feed on chemicals instead of oxygen, forming thick microbial mats. Forms, crabs, and mussels live dangerously close to the toxic boundary. Some organisms even rely on methane seeping from the pools to survive. This is life built on poison. The boundary between normal seawater and brine is so sharp it looks like glass. A visible and invisible wall cross it, and survival ends. Robotic submersibles approaching these pools experience sensor distortion, temperature anomalies, and sudden buoyancy changes. Some instruments fail. Others report readings that defy expectations. Chemistry here bends the rules. Scientists believe these environments resemble conditions on alien worlds. Places like Saturn, Moon, Titan, or ancient Earth before oxygen filled the atmosphere, which makes these pools incredibly valuable. They may help us understand how life begins in extreme environments, but studying them is dangerous. One wrong move and equipment sinks into toxic brine, never to be recovered. Some brine pools stretch hundreds of feet across. Others are small and hidden. Many likely remain undiscovered. What makes this even more unsettling is how close they are to human activity. The Gulf of Mexico is heavily trafficked, drilled, mapped. Yet these lethal lakes went unnoticed for centuries. Entire ecosystems hidden in plain sight. These pools remind us that the ocean does not just hide creatures, it hides environments so strange they feel unreal. Water that kills life, that feeds on poison. Lakes beneath the sea. The deeper we explore, the more the ocean feels less like Earth and more like another planet. And this raises a final question: if places like this exist so close to us, what else is waiting in the depths, unseen, untouched, alive? Number 3, Challenger Deep. There is a place on Earth that sits closer to the center of the planet than anywhere else humans have ever reached. A place so deep that maps feel unfinished. A place that redefines the word bottom. This is Challenger Deep, located within the Mariana Trench in the western Pacific Ocean. Challenger Deep is the deepest known point on our planet. Its depth exceeds 36,000 feet. Deeper than Mount Everest is tall, a vertical fall into darkness that feels endless to reach. This depth of descent takes hours of sinking through layers of water where pressure increases with every second. Sunlight disappears almost instantly, colors fade, sound becomes distant. By the time a vehicle reaches the abyss, everything feels unreal. The pressure here is over 1,000 times that at the surface, enough to crush steel, enough to shatter glass. Only specially designed submersibles can survive, and even then, survival is not guaranteed. Humans have visited Challenger Deep only a handful of times in history. Each descent required years of planning, experimental engineering, and extreme risk. Every mission carried the possibility of never returning. Environment at the bottom is colder than freezing, completely dark and eerily still. The seafloor is covered in fine sediment like snow, but made of crushed shells and organic debris falling from above. Despite these impossible conditions, Life exists. Small, translucent creatures move slowly across the bottom, shrimp-like animals. Sea cucumbers and microorganisms adapted to absolute pressure. Some fish have been observed here. Their bodies soft, flexible, designed to avoid being crushed, but what shocked scientists most was what they found in the sediment chemical traces of human pollution. Even here at the deepest point on Earth, plastic compounds and industrial chemicals have been detected. A reminder that no place on this planet is truly untouched. Challenger Deep is also geologically active. The trench lies at the boundary where tectonic plates collide. The Pacific Plate dives beneath the Philippine Plate. This movement generates massive earthquakes, releases energy, and reshapes the trench floor. The bottom is not stable. It shifts, collapses, and reforms over time, which means what we map today may not exist tomorrow. Instruments placed on the seafloor have recorded strange sounds, low-frequency rumbles, and distant vibrations. The ocean here is not silent. It is alive with forces we barely understand. Some researchers believe deeper pockets may exist nearby, deeper than what we currently call the deepest areas, hidden by terrain unmeasured. Unconfirmed because mapping at this depth is extremely limited. Most of Challenger Deep remains visually unexplored, seen only through brief camera glimpses, short visits, quick samples, then retreat. The cost is enormous, the risk extreme, which leaves us with more questions than answers. How does life truly survive here? What species remain undiscovered, and how much deeper does the trench really go? Challenger Deep is not just a destination, it is a boundary, a reminder of the limits of human exploration and the vastness of the unknown beneath our feet. When we reach the bottom of the ocean, we do not find an end, we find more mystery, more darkness, more life, more unanswered questions, and that is what makes Challenger Deep one of the most haunting places on Earth. Number 4, the Great Blue Hole. There are places in the ocean where the surface looks calm, peaceful, almost inviting, but beneath that calm lies a sudden drop into darkness, a vertical fall into the unknown. These are the Great Blue Holes, perfectly circular openings in the ocean floor, so dark blue they look almost black from above. They are found in several parts of the world: the Bahamas, Belize, the Red Sea, and scattered across remote ocean regions. From the air, they look beautiful, like portals carved into the sea, but they are among the most dangerous places on Earth. A blue hole is essentially a massive underwater sinkhole, formed thousands of years ago when sea levels were lower, when caves formed in limestone, then collapsed and flooded as oceans rose. What remains is a deep vertical cavern with sheer walls and extreme depths. Some blue holes descend hundreds of feet. Others drop more than 1,000 light, disappears quickly. Within seconds of descent, at certain depths, something strange happens. Thick cloudy layer forms a visible boundary in the water. This is hydrogen sulfide, a toxic chemical produced by bacteria feeding on decaying organic matter above it. Life exists, fish, algae, movement below it, almost nothing. The layer blocks oxygen light, and survival divers who descend past this boundary enter a dead zone. No fish, no plants, no sound, only darkness, and beneath that darkness lie perfectly preserved remains: human bones, ancient animal skeletons, artifacts untouched for thousands of years. Because without oxygen, decay slows dramatically. Some blue holes have revealed human remains dating back over 10,000 years. People who fell or were placed or never returned. In the Great Blue Hole of Belize, divers discovered ancient cave formations, stalactites, that could only form above water, proof that these places were once dry land, which means humans and animals once walked here then. The sea swallowed everything. What makes blue holes even more disturbing is their unpredictability. Currents inside them behave strangely. Water flows vertically, not horizontally. Diver can be pulled down without warning. Navigation becomes difficult, disorientation common. Many experienced divers have vanished inside blue holes. Some bodies were never recovered. Dramatic exploration has revealed deeper chambers, side tunnels, and hidden passages. Some blue holes connect to underground cave systems stretching miles beneath the seabed. Complex labyrinths carved by water over millennia. Mapping them is extremely difficult. Equipment fails, visibility drops to zero, signals weaken in some blue holes. Sonar readings show voids, empty spaces, larger than expected. Caverns too deep, too wide to fully map. Scientists still debate how deep some blue holes truly are because their bottom has never been reached. Even more unsettling is the microbial life inside bacteria living in complete darkness, feeding on sulfur, creating toxic layers. These organisms resemble some of the earliest life forms on Earth, which makes blue holes living time. Capsules windows into the ancient past, but also potential warnings, because these environments show how quickly areas can become uninhabitable. One chemical shift, one oxygen loss, and life disappears. Blue holes are not monsters, they do not move, but they are silent traps, perfectly still, perfectly dark, waiting from the surface. They look harmless below. They are some of the most hostile environments humans have ever entered. They remind us that danger does not always roar, sometimes it waits quietly beneath. Calm water hidden deep and unforgiving. Number 5, the underwater volcano Kanjudio and far below. The surface of the ocean, beyond sunlight, beyond pressure limits of most machines. There is a world that never sleeps, a world where the earth is still being created. This is the realm of underwater volcanoes hidden beneath miles of water stretching across the planet like scars. These volcanoes are not rare, they are everywhere. More than 80% of Earth's volcanic activity happens underwater, yet most people never think about them because they erupt in silence. No fire in the sky, no ash clouds, no warning, only slow, relentless power. At the center of this world lies the mid-ocean ridge system. Longest mountain range on Earth, longer than all land mountains combined. It wraps around the planet like a cracked shell. Here, tectonic plates slowly pull apart just a few centimeters each year, and as they separate, magma rises from the mantle, not violently, but constantly. Molten rock meets freezing seawater, steam explodes, lava cools, instantly new ocean floor is born every single day. This is how the planet renews itself. Black smokers rise like chimneys from the seabed. They spew superheated mineral-rich water hotter than boiling, sometimes reaching temperatures above 400 degrees Celsius. Yet the water does not boil because pressure keeps it compressed around these vents. Life thrives, not sunlight-based life, but chemical life. Giant tube worms, blind shrimp, strange crabs, alien-looking creatures. They survive using chemosynthesis instead of sunlight. They feed on sulfur, iron, and methane. Some of these organisms have no eyes, no pigmentation, no resemblance to surface life. They evolved in total darkness. Scientists believe this may be how life on Earth began, in the deep, near heat, near minerals, near chaos. Some underwater volcanoes erupt explosively when magma traps gases. Pressure builds, and suddenly the seabed fractures. Entire sections collapse, triggering massive landslides. These underwater landslides can generate tsunamis, waves that travel thousands of miles, striking coastlines that never saw the eruption. This makes underwater volcanoes extremely dangerous, but almost impossible to monitor. Many eruptions are only discovered after damage is done. In some places, entire islands have formed. Overnight, volcanic rock rising from the sea, cooling, hardening, creating new land, only to be swallowed again by waves. Temporary islands born and erased. There are volcanoes so massive they dwarf anything on land. Mauna Kea begins underwater, making it taller than Mount Everest from base to peak, and yet we barely explore its underwater half. Some volcanic regions produce strange sounds. Low frequency rumbles, groans, pulses detected by hydrophones, but not fully understood. Others emit glowing lava flows, illuminating the darkness like rivers of fire, captured briefly by robotic submersibles, then lost again to depth. Equipment struggles here. Extreme heat, crushing pressure, corrosive chemicals, cameras fail, signals distort, robots are damaged. Exploration is slow, expensive, and dangerous. Even today, large sections of the mid-ocean ridge remain unmapped, vast volcanic fields never seen by human eyes. There could be entire ecosystems waiting to be discovered, or geological processes we do not yet understand underwater. Volcanoes remind us that Earth is alive, breathing, shifting, creating. While we walk unaware above, the ocean floor is constantly changing, new crust forming, old crust sinking, energy moving silent, invisible, relentless, and beneath all that water, the planet continues its ancient work. Number 6, the Milky Sea, Pienchanomeno. And imagine standing on the deck of a ship at night. The sky is dark, no moon, no stars, and suddenly the ocean begins to glow, not in small flashes, not in sparkles, but as a solid sheet of light, miles and miles of glowing water. Stretching to the horizon, this is not science fiction. This is the Milky Sea Phenomena 1. Of the rarest and most mysterious events ever observed in the ocean, sailors have reported it for centuries. They described sailing through seas that looked like liquid moonlight water, glowing white or pale blue, so bright it illuminated ship hulls and sails for a long time. Scientists did not believe these reports. They thought sailors were exaggerating or mistaking reflections from the sky, but satellites changed everything in recent decades. Low-light satellite sensors captured massive glowing patches in the Indian Ocean, some as large as entire countries. These glowing seas appear suddenly and can last for hours, sometimes days, then vanish without a trace. Like normal bioluminescence, which happens when waves are disturbed, milky seas glow continuously even when the water is perfectly still. This is what makes them so strange. The leading theory involves bioluminescent bacteria, tiny organisms called Vibrio larvae. These bacteria emit light through chemical reactions, but normally they only glow in small concentrations. In milky seas, they gather in unimaginable numbers, trillions upon trillions. The bacteria coat algae or organic particles, creating a massive glowing surface layer. Why they do this remains unclear. Some scientists believe it is a survival strategy. The glow attracts fish. Fish eat the glowing matter. Bacteria spread through waste. Others think changes in temperature, nutrient levels, or ocean currents trigger mass activation, but no one knows for sure. What makes studying milky seas extremely difficult is their unpredictability. They occur far from land in remote shipping lanes, often when no research vessels are nearby. By the time scientists arrive, the glow is gone. Only satellite images remain historical. Records show sightings as far back as the 18th century. Captain accounts speak of oceans that looked frozen, as if covered in snow. Some sailors believed they had entered supernatural waters. Others feared it was a bad omen. Even today, seeing a milky sea in person is incredibly rare. Only a handful of humans have witnessed it directly, and even fewer have collected samples. During the event, when samples were analyzed, they confirmed massive bacterial activity, but this only raised more questions. How do these bacteria synchronize their glow across such enormous areas? Do they maintain it for so long? Why does it only happen in certain regions, mostly in the northwestern Indian Ocean near Southeast Asia? Some researchers suspect links to monsoon patterns, seasonal nutrient upwellings, and calm surface waters, but the exact trigger remains unknown. Milky seas also raise bigger questions. If such massive biological events can happen unnoticed, what else is happening in the ocean right now? Out of sight, undocumented, unmeasured entire phenomena could exist, appearing, glowing, disappearing, without ever being studied. The Milky Sea reminds us that the ocean operates on its own rules. It does not announce itself. It does not wait for observation. It simply happens, vast, silent, beautiful, and deeply mysterious. Somewhere tonight, far from shore, there may be an ocean glowing softly in the dark with no one there to see it. Number 7, the Sargasso Sea. There is a sea in the Atlantic Ocean that has no coastline, no beaches, no visible borders. A sea that exists entirely within the ocean. This is the Sargasso Sea, and like every other sea on Earth, it is not surrounded by land. Instead, it is trapped inside 4 massive ocean currents: the Gulf Stream, the North Atlantic Current, the Canary Current, and the North Atlantic Equatorial Current. These currents spin endlessly, forming a giant, slow-moving whirlpool. Anything that enters finds it difficult to escape. This is why sailors once feared this place. The surface of the Sargasso Sea is covered in thick, floating seaweed, called sargassum, golden brown mats stretching as far as the eye can see. Ships in the age of sail would drift into this region, lose the wind, and become trapped, not moving for days, sometimes weeks. Sailors called them become surrounded by silence, surrounded by weeds, no wind, no escape. Old blogs describe crews slowly losing hope, food running low, water rationed. Sea itself felt alive, as if it was holding them. Legends grew around this place, stories of ghost ships drifting endlessly, decks empty, sails torn, no sign of struggle, just abandoned vessels trapped in weeds. Some believed the Sargasso Sea was cursed. Others believed it hid the ruins of Atlantis. They claimed the thick seaweed concealed ancient stone structures below. Modern science has not confirmed Atlantis, but the mystery of the Sargasso Sea remains, because beneath the floating weeds, is a unique ecosystem species that live nowhere else on Earth. Transparent fish, camouflage crabs, eels that begin their life here. Yes, European and American eels are born in the Sargasso Sea. They travel thousands of miles to rivers, then return years later to die. No one has ever witnessed their spawning directly. They vanish into the sea and somehow reproduce. The water here is unusually clear, nutrient poor, yet life thrives in strange ways. Currents inside the sea move slowly, creating an eerie stillness. Sound travels differently. Waves behave oddly. Even modern ships report navigation issues. Instruments function normally, yet sailors describe a sense of disorientation. A psychological effect, perhaps, or something else. Satellite imagery shows the seaweed constantly shifting, forming massive patterns like veins across the surface. These mats trap plastic debris. Even ships. The Sargasso Sea has quietly become a graveyard for ocean waste and a reminder of human impetuosity. It remains difficult to study. It belongs to no nation, no clear legal protection. Exploration is limited. Conservation is complicated. This floating sea prison continues to drift, holding life, holding history, holding secrets. The Sargasso Sea does not roar, it does not crash, it whispers, and those who listen too long may never leave.